Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brian from NY Blade EDC, and today I have the Southard Mini Tolk on the table. This one was loaned to me by a good friend of mine, Mr. Keith at New York Knife Guy on Instagram. We give him some love. He's actually coming for a visit tomorrow, so this will be going back with him, and let's see if he leaves me some good ones. Let's see. So let's get into numbers for you. So blade, you got 3¼ inch blade of 20 CV steel with the USA stamp right below it, made in USA obviously. You got a 4.125 inch handle, titanium, milled out pockets, looks pretty cool on both sides there. And then overall length is 7.375 inches. So I could not find a weight on this model. There's a few online that were different materials and versions, and I wasn't sure, and I really need to invest in a scale, but could not find a weight on it. But it is pretty light. It's a fairly light knife, obviously with those milled out pockets that saves some weight on both sides, but it's got some internal milling in there as well. Pockets, let's see if you can see them this way. No, barely. You can see one right there. Yeah, there you go. It's a fairly light knife. I love the weight of this thing. So you barely even realize it's in the pocket when you got it. But sorry I couldn't give you an actual defined weight on this. But let's get into a size comparison here. I have 4 on the table here. I have the typical PM2, which is larger. Let's get that out of the way. Another larger knife as the Ontario Rat Model 1. Then I have 2 more for you. This one's a little smaller. This is the Chris Reeve Small Sebenza 21. So it's a hair shorter in the blade, as you can see, and a hair shorter in the handle. Love this knife. And then the Hogue Deca, which is the best size comparison that I have. It's actually almost identical length and everything. So handle length and blade length is almost identical. So it's pretty cool. Review on that is actually coming up next. So, all right, enough of the size comparison. Let's get into the rating system. So for a size rating, I gave this a 17. So it's starting off strong because when you look at this knife, right, you got a smallish handle. As you like, let me put it against the Sebenza 21, small. As you can see, the small Sebenza is still a little smaller, but when you open it up and compare the blade length, it's got a abnormally, like, it looks like it's gonna have a small blade, then you open it up and it's actually a decent length blade. So what it was deceptive to me when I first opened it up. I didn't expect it to have at least that blade length, the cutting length at least. So I feel like this is going to be good because it's very slim. You don't really feel it in the pocket. It's got a nice clip on it. Sits deep, so good size. Let's get into the ergos. So we started off strong with a 17. Ergos are good. I'm going to give it a ergos rating of 12 out of 20. And let's show you why. So when I hold this knife, my 2 fingers fall in that groove. And then my ring finger falls on that nub right there. And that makes just a little bit of a weird sensation while holding the knife. Not bad. It doesn't feel bad. It just doesn't feel like you want to have your finger there. It's either you want to have your hand back a little bit or actually have it forward more in front of that little ridge. But another thing is the knife is thin, as I stated, which is nice for being in the pocket, but in the hand, it just feels like you don't have enough to really hold on to. So it's just that combined with that little nub. It doesn't make for a bad combination, but it's just not the best. So I do say that the jimping there on the flipper tab is dual purpose for opening, obviously, and then when you have it there, it doesn't let your finger really roll over that much. So the jimping on top and on this are the same, and they're fantastic. Actually, one of my favorite jimpings I've ever seen on a knife because it's not aggressive, doesn't rip your thumb up, it grips your thumb good and it doesn't rip your thumb up. So did a good job with that. So ergos, 12 out of 20. Could be better. I think if this was a hair farther back or a hair farther forward, it would have been fine. It's just that my ring finger wants to fall right on it. So that's why I think it feels a little awkward in hand. And the added on top of it with the thinness of the knife. So, all right, fit and finish. I really went over this and I looked pretty closely at it. There's absolutely nothing besides one thing, which is even a very nitpicky thing. I try to do this. It's got a hair amount of detent rock, just a hair. It's like not even really that noticeable, but I went over and I tried to find something. But no blade play, side to side, no up and down. Lockup is fantastic at 40%ish, maybe even close to 50. All the screws look good. The milling is done perfectly. The back spacer fits flush all the way there and there. It's like a two-piece almost, it looks like, because that little lanyard bar, it's not a lanyard tube, it's a lanyard bar. It looks like it's two-piece, but it's actually still one piece. You could see it runs underneath it, but everything's flush, looks great. Blade is centered, I forgot to mention that. As you can see here, blade is centered perfectly. So I also love how the blade comes and runs with the handle. So back to the ergos, if this was pushed back, that would change the blade shape, because obviously this sits within that handle and it makes it look flush. So fit and finish, I gave it a 17, so it's got another 17 on the board. And on to action. As you can see, I've been playing with this thing quite a bit since he sent it to me, and I just can't put it down. It's just, it's money, it's butter, it's smooth, it's quick, it snaps open, it locks up good, no lock stick at all. It's just a fantastic thing. So I've talked to another friend of mine who has a Mini Tolk, and he says his action isn't as free fall as this, but it opens up nice and smooth like that. So this one is probably not really an exception, but just a very finely tuned version of this knife, and I just find it very enjoyable to flick. Like back to the jimping, I said that jimping is probably my favorite I've ever had on a knife, because I can literally flip this for hours, not slip off of this thing and not tear my finger up. Like I literally played with this, I believe the other night, for about 2 hours just doing this while watching TV, and just had a blast with it. And I watched the pivot, made sure the pivot didn't go loose, and it didn't do that. So just as you can see, it's just so smooth. It's running on bearings, so snaps out. You can light switch it, and you can button switch it, push button it. So it doesn't really make a difference. It'll go either way. It's got very finely tuned detent on this thing. So fit and finish, oh, that's the wrong one. Action, that's it, that's the right one. Sorry guys. The action, I gave a rating of 17 out of 20. It's just that enjoyable. I originally wrote down 16 and I was like, that's not high enough. So I went up another step and went to 17. So we got 3 17s on the board here. Now onto the price. So like I stated with the weight, I really couldn't find anything on this. I should have asked Keith what he paid for it. But the only price I could find for an equivalent model with these milled out pockets and a brass color backspacer and 20 CV, I could only find one price, and it was for a used or a pre-owned, not used condition, and the price was at $695. So I don't know what to really base it off of, but I'm gonna go with that number. And I've seen higher numbers. I've never seen anything lower than 6 for the other models. Some were used, and they were going for 6. So I'm just gonna go with the $695. And for price rating, I gave it a 9. I could not fork over $695 for this knife. I love the knife, but I just couldn't give close to $700 for it. You know, it's just, I don't feel like I would carry it enough or even use it to justify that price. I love the design. I love the looks of it. Love the action. I don't know what it is, $6.95. I just don't feel like I would pay that money for it. If I could get a deal on one, probably around $500, that's where I would probably start really thinking about buying one. But $6.95, close to $700 is a bit pricey for me. So a price rating of 9 out of 20. So when you add up 17, 12, 17, 17, and 9, you get a 72 out of 100. And I really enjoyed playing with this knife. It's a very fidget-friendly knife. A few final words here. Just the minor things with the ergos and the price. That's it on this thing. So I think it's a fantastic knife. If you have smaller hands, this will definitely be up your alley. I definitely don't have small hands. I don't have massive hands. But it's just, the ergos are not the best. It's just a little thin. So that's about it. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you're not subbed, please do so. Leave a like or a comment. Message me at nyblade_edc on Instagram. And thanks guys for watching. Have a great day.